Hey everyone, my name is Taps, and we just had a solid Twitter Spaces AMA from Ecomi and Veve with Reese and Alex G. On this AMA, they actually announced some pretty sweet drops that are coming this weekend, some clarity on timelines, like actual clarity on timelines for this quarter, and some solid updates that we just weren't expecting. But there were a few there that you really had to listen close in order to pick them out from all the updates that we received. So in this video, I'm going to give you those key highlights, break it down, and my thoughts around them. Let's get it. As always, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the community. Feel free to subscribe. I'm a crypto stock and real estate investor, but never a financial advisor. Now, this space was recorded, so if you'd like, you can go on Twitter and replay the entire thing. Let's start with arguably probably the most important one and the most anticipated by far. MTL, or the ability to cash out. Our marketing guru Veve, Alex G, did come on and confirm that it is slated for Q2, so over the next 2 to 3 months, and even said it's taken way too long and it needs to get done. And even though Dan wasn't on the call, he was saying, Dan, let's get this done. This is really the first time I've heard anyone from the team really put a lot of urgency, like this should have been done yesterday. So this is a good sign that I really hope that they're going to adhere to having this happen this quarter. The next pretty actually massive update that took me by surprise, and it makes me happy because I've had so many people hop in the comments of videos and say, Taps, you need to stop talking about OMI burns because it doesn't matter because Ecomi and Veve are no longer doing buybacks. And my answer was always the same, which was, when was this confirmed? And it's because it's been touched on, but not really ever confirmed. Well, in this AMA, Reese did come back on and say buybacks are still on the table. And they're working directly with top regulatory agencies to figure exactly how they can roll this out in the correct form so that way OMI is not seen as a security. Reese also went on to say that the OMI token is designed to support other platforms. Now, this was a broad statement, but basically it seems like there will be multiple ways to not only use the token, but also potential ways to utilize the reserves in the future. This was very broad, but I wrote it down because it was so unique, so I would love to get a little more info on this. And we got the update on KYC. So this actually did drop during the Veve AMA. And it basically goes into exactly what AML, or anti-money laundering, and KYC, or know your customer, is. It confirms that the removal of gem transfers, the ability to send gems from one account to another account, is now completely disabled. This was very much done in order to battle the bots and fraudsters, as well as they did disable collectible transfers. This is the temporary side though. This will eventually be turned back on, most likely once we have the new drop system and KYC in place. But for now, you cannot send collectibles from one account to another. And again, it is to basically stop the bots in their track because they became such a huge issue. And we've seen the effects. A lot more people are landing more drops. And they did shed some light on the timeline around this. They did say that it will be web platform first, and then KYC will take place after that, and are both expected before the end of quarter. You'll hear me say that a bunch, end of quarter, right? We're in the second quarter of the year, so basically April, May, June. So we can expect a lot of these things, at least according to their timeline, based by the end of June. The next piece they touched on again was, of course, animated DeLorean. We've seen it so long ago, and that we do want our common DeLoreans drivable. So Alex did say they are finally being turned back on, and not to hold him to it, but it's supposed to be coming in the next week or so. The effect that we're seeing on bots were brought up, and the question came up, is Veve actively delisting the bot listing posts as well as going after the bots? And they did say, yes, there are daily delistings happening. And huge shout out to Omi the Clown and Chill Crazy, who are our bot guardians, right? They're helping us to track and get rid of and flag these bot accounts. Even Omi the Clown went as far as making a bot that tracks bots via Mutascan. So thank you for what you do in putting in that maximum effort. And then Reese, interesting enough, actually shouted out HRO and said supporters should let them know to watch out for bots as well because they'll inevitably target their platform. This was kind of cool to hear Reese, everyone takes shots at Veve all the time, but not saying anything bad. They're actually saying like, hey, you should help out these other platforms who are in our space to also watch for this common pitfall or this common issue that we've seen. That shows some class. The next piece was, of course, asked around OMI utility or the OUP program. This is the ability, of course, to have some utility to our OMI tokens, which to date still don't. So the ability to stake it, the ability to use OMI to NFT, and more coming. It said OMI utility is still in development, and I couldn't catch if they were saying the article or the first iteration of actual utility of the OMI token was coming this quarter. I believe they were saying it's the first iteration of the actual utility, so my guess is probably staking benefits will be the first thing that we see this quarter. But Reese did also say that the changes are going to bring strong value to the token, and I mean, this is in his opinion, right? But at the same time, he said he was confident on basically helping the value. For all the drop masters, obviously we all have tips and tricks that we rely on. However, one thing that they did say, and you had to listen very closely to this, was that some of the updates that have happened in the app may have adjusted some of the rebound time. So not necessarily are they always every 4 minutes now. I barely caught this, but it's something to pay attention to at the next drop. Someone also asked, will all Veve collectibles eventually, right? We don't know when, but will all of them eventually be interoperable? Will we be able to sell all of them into some kind of open marketplace like OpenSea or others? And Reese answered, yes. He believes all of them eventually will make that happen, but of course not sure how far out. It will again start most likely with those independent licensors, mostly like the artists like Frank Kozik, Ron English, Jermaine Rogers, basically people who already have content in OpenSea and other marketplaces. Now this one was interesting because when it came to talking about live events, Reese confirmed again that DCon UK is happening in September, and then went on to say, I think we're hitting San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con. And then Alex actually hopped in and said, those aren't confirmed, but they're working on smaller LA event as well. But the way he kind of hopped in to like cut Reese off makes me almost think there might be something happen a little bit with talks with these Comic-Cons that maybe we're not supposed to know yet. He just kind of came over the top so quickly that it was different from the rest of the conversation. So I wonder if there's something brewing with San Diego Comic-Con that we just don't know yet. Next update was they revealed on the AMA that the next big drop happening on Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific time is Batman Black and White Series 6. It's been a while since we've had another black and white Batman. Of course, we had like the Croc statue, but this is the OG set, right? And it keeps adding up. We know that there are 100 of these collectibles, so I imagine in a couple years we will have all 100 of them, but again, this is significant. We love Batman, and also I think this also has some more value just because we're seeing a big uplift from HRO, right? I think Batman movie, HRO, more DC content, also having their thing on Palm. I mean, there is a big focus on DC bringing a lot of value into the NFT market, so I think having another Batman Black and White series is pretty solid. The other license that was announced was, of course, the Take Me Out to the Ball Game stamp. This drops Sunday, April 10th at 8 a.m. So pretty sure this is the first kind of sports themed drop that we have in the app. Of course, it isn't specifically like a sports collectible, but it's a sports stamp, right? So I wonder if this is how they're going to lean into a bit to see how we're going to do with sports. I mean, it's just so unique, right? Like this is what the USPS decided to do, but really cool to see because we know there's a sports vertical of our collectibles that has still not come. The next update was the bridge site that allows you to swap L1 OMI to L2 OMI or vice versa, basically helping you to get your OMI tokens out of the app onto an exchange or exchange back into the app. However you want to use them, whether it's for staking benefits or to trade them, sell them, basically the ability again to swap from layer 1, layer 2. That bridge is just about live, but it's not quite yet. So they did say it is just about finished in development and will be coming soon. Now, this update seems like a pretty big deal to me. It doesn't affect me, but I believe it does affect a lot of users. So I think they did retweet it afterwards, a little bit after, but I think this should have been louder. So I really want you to pay attention if you have OMI on Gate.io. So Gate.io has really not responded to Veve and Ecomi, and they're not migrating it doesn't sound like. So the issue here is that Gate.io also said they're going to be stopping doing business in multitude of countries, including the US. So I believe it's only a few days out until they stop doing that business in those countries. So if you have OMI still on Gate.io and you're in one of these countries, you need to move it to another exchange. And if you still can't withdraw it from Gate.io, you need to reach out to their contact support and make the request. So this should be really, really highlighted. I retweeted it. This is a big deal. Someone also asked again about accessories. Now, they did give us a bit of a timeline on this, right? Like, we don't really know necessarily when. We were just always excited that we would have accessories, like maybe like a gold cape for Superman, maybe a different colored cowl for Batman, who knows? But they did say that they're coming this year, but not an immediate priority, which kind of makes sense. Like for me, accessories make sense once you have the web version, because then you can also have, different types of shells and all that, but also closer in between to our actual Viviverse too, because having a different colored cape and all that makes sense when you have an avatar who can run around, which we know is coming to the Viviverse. We already kind of touched on interoperability, which is the ability again to have your VV collectibles sold in other marketplaces like Immutable X Marketplace, OpenSea, hopefully Coinbase NFT Marketplace coming, but they did confirm it is not coming this quarter. Now, in the past on AMAs, in a lot of the updates, they usually just said, we're not sure, right? They wouldn't tell us just direct, this is coming this quarter, this is for sure not coming this quarter. But they came on and said, interoperability is not coming this quarter, but keep an eye out, because when you see an integration from Immutable X and OpenSea, which was announced last year, but it hasn't happened yet, when that happens, that would make the most sense for Vivi, really, because we of course want to see our Vivi NFTs in OpenSea and not just Immutable X Marketplace, but Immutable X Marketplace continues to build different integrations like Token Trove and OKX and a bunch of other ones that they are actively building integrations with. Another update that, it's timeline not really there, but Alex did say there's another anime adjacent drop that is coming. Anime adjacent means it's not quite anime, it's kind of like Voltron or the dragons that we saw from Scott Tolson, but there's no timeline yet for anime, and that makes me sad to hear. The Viviverse was actually spoken a little bit about in this AMA, which was exciting. We usually don't really get a whole lot around this, but I had a lot of comments on my last video saying, dude, there's no way the Viviverse is coming this year. But again, the first iteration is scheduled to come this year. They haven't updated on the site anything saying otherwise. And again, part of this update kind of sounds like we are still in line for the first iteration of the Viviverse, maybe our Vivi homes in 2022. My guess, Q4, basically the last part of the year. But there was a question on the Viviverse, and they did mention how you won't be able to quest for gems, which was talked about in the white paper because of all the things that happened with basically trying to protect them from not becoming security or money laundering and all that. But you could potentially quest for certain collectibles and or need certain sets in order to do certain quests. Like for instance, maybe you have to have black and white season 1 Batmans in order to go for a certain thing, which was what their example was. Now, we're always thinking about ways on how Vivi is going to reward collectors. Well, Master Collector Program obviously makes sense, but I think they're going to be building a lot of capabilities and things into the Viviverse, specifically into our metaverse that we all get to interact with based on collecting and not flipping, right? So that is where the value of building sets, building collectibles, being a collector by nature is going to come in hand. And then last but not least, when marketing came up, we haven't heard that in a while. And the answer is after MTL, after KYC, and after web, which we know are coming this quarter. The reason is it doesn't make sense to have a big draw, bring in a huge crowd based off the marketing when these items still haven't executed, which I agree, right? I'm sure plenty of people came in because of Disney and then eventually were like, wait, I can't cash out. Wait, you mentioned cash out, but I still can't cash out. And they hop ship, right? But once those execute, it sounds like they're making moves that way. And it's solid to hear that things like social and paid advertising are going to happen. Alex added on to that by saying that he is actually expanding the marketing team. And again, they keep mentioning it, but they are very excited about the promo codes. The promo code feature is coming soon and will broaden the tie between physical and digital. still done, of course, with like the licensor brands. Potentially more movies could do something with tickets. They brought it more than once, and some big brand toy companies that they're currently working with. I don't know about you guys, but overall, I feel good with that AMA. And it's been a while. Like, this was a refreshing AMA. We got some big updates. We got a lot of transparency from the team, and they actively gave timelines that were pretty solid. That was a lot of updates, and there is a lot on the plate for Q2, and most of all these items actually matched up with the roadmap I put together before this AMA happened. If you didn't have a chance to check out that roadmap that I did in my last video, I highly recommend you go watch that video after this video, because again, the timelines are pretty in sync. That AMA really felt like a positive booster shot that our community really needed. I believe we'll finally see the items that we've been very, very patient for a very long time, like MTL, OUP, MCP, happening over the next few months. So that excitement, the fun of Veve, where it was just so crazy and there was just tons of new users hopping on every single day. Everywhere you looked, there was Veve. That excitement is going to flood back in, and a whole lot of new users and, of course, price action of the market with it. So stay tuned, Veve fam. As always, I hope you found my content valuable, and if so, please hit the like button, leave a comment down below. The likes and comments appease the algo overlords and help my channel to continue to grow. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button, notification bell for future content. That's it for today. I'm Taps. Thank you for your time, man. Happy trading.